Hey everybody, Dom here, and today we're going to go through every single Team Fortress 2 map. I'm going to go through every single Team Fortress 2 map and tell you my thoughts on every single one. This is probably going to be a very long video. Consider watching at 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed. Your choice. Let's begin. A few things to note. Only official maps are going to be covered. There's literally hundreds of thousands of custom maps, so they simply can't all be covered. This list is in alphabetical order. And finally, this list is eventually going to become outdated as new maps are added to the game. They simply can't be covered if they haven't come out yet for me. Alright, so let's begin for real now. 2 Fort. 2 Fort is an iconic map. Likely if you're thinking of Team Fortress 2, you're thinking of 2 Fort. The map has many problems. It has no flow. There's no tug-of-war gameplay, no give and take, no back and forth. It feels like it's always coincidental to find an enemy anywhere and they could just pop out of nowhere. There's no front line on 2 Fort. Another problem is the sniper syndrome the map has. Snipers play the map, not to play the map. They play 2 Fort for the minigame inside the game, where they sit in the sniper battlements and snipe each other all day long. It's actually kind of pathetic. Another problem is the bad spawn rooms. They have no windows and they are attached to high traffic areas, so they're just prone to spawn camping. They're split into two, so on top of everything else, they also have an element of RNG involved. What I mean is, it's possible to spawn in on the side you don't want to spawn in on. And that's just BS. Another problem is playing 2 Fort seriously is too punishing. Turtling in the flag room is so powerful that people don't even bother to play the map as intended. What's the point of gathering teammates and infiltrating the enemy base if it's super difficult and will likely fail? It's much more rewarding and fun to just mess around, and so serious play ends up not happening on 2 Fort. 2 Fort Invasion. It's the same thing as 2 Fort, but with two key differences. The differences are the map looks nicer and there are explosive barrels around. Do these changes make the map better? Arguably a bit. 5 Gorge. This map has a weird optical illusion where if you're used to playing on the red side, which is what Gorge is, when you go on blue side it looks like the early morning. It's somewhat surreal but more beautiful in a weird way. Overall the map plays well enough. It's a boring map, it's not outstanding in any sort of way, but it's not horrible, but it's also not that great. Asteroid. Maybe someday this map will be finished. Someday. An early version of this map was sort of a cluster maze. Remember? It had like a teleporter from spawn to like near the front line. That version of the map was really bad. The gimmick of this map, actually the main gameplay of this map, killing the small robots for the power cores is just unfun gameplay. Maybe it's just me. Maybe the map could be more focused if they remove some of the capture flag elements, like basically the entirety of the flags, going to the very back of the enemy bases to get the flag, and walking around with the flag, kind of purposelessly just to steal power cores. It's a really clumsy gameplay mechanic, especially getting there with the lasers. Overall, I see potential in this map, and I hope to someday see it finished, even though that's quite unlikely. Maybe if they throw the map to the community, and the community could finish it. So, similar to the Art Pass contest, you know, with Mountain Lab and Man Manor? That could be one way to finish the map. At least, aesthetically. Background 01. Background 01 is a map to be used with the game's feature of loading in a map as the main menu background. It was used on the console versions of the game to look nice and to preload assets in before joining servers. Control Point Badlands. This map plays well, and looks nice in a sort of classic Team Fortress 2 sort of way. Everyone talks about how fun the verticality of the spires are in this map, and I agree. The second point on both sides, quite a fun area. This map has a lot of great small interesting jumps. Areas where you can abuse Team Fortress 2's engine to a small extent to stand on very small ledges that kind of feel buggy in a way because you're not supposed to stand on them. Arena Badlands. This map plays well and it's the perfect size for Arena. All in all, great map. King of the Hill Badlands. Usually this map plays well, sometimes it's prone to spawn camping. 50% of games, let's say. More or less, it depends how much one team is better than the other team. Overall though, solid map for King of the Hill. Badwater Basin. This is a classic map, a favorite map by a lot of people. I can't stand it anymore. After playing the single map for literally like hundreds of hours, it's just not my jam anymore. Not because the map is bad in any sort of way, but because of just constantly playing it for so long. You just can't play it anymore at some point. Overall great map, has good flow, a lot of interesting sentry spots. I'd recommend. Banana Bay. This map, the layout is a bit confusing, or at least at first. No, let's just say it's confusing. It's confusing, the layout is confusing. Like, it's hard to say where the payload card is, just judging by the on-screen elements on the HUD. By looking at the HUD, is the payload near their side of the base, near our side? Is it on the left? Is it on the right? I have no idea. Anyways, overall the map's really nice, it plays well, and I really enjoy the implied story elements, like the demonic circle underneath one of the spawn rooms. Barn Blitz. This map plays well, looks nice, and has great flow. The only negative thing I can think of is the very first area outside of Blue Spawn. That area is not great in terms of frame rates. This mostly affects people with lower end systems. Overall, there's not much to say about this map. Big Rock. This is a superb man vs. machine map. The visuals are a barren wasteland, but a unique one. Like no other barren wasteland in a game full of barren wastelands looks like this exact barren wasteland. In terms of man vs. machine maps, this one's unique in being very, very long. It's, in fact, the first map to have engineer robots, and that kind of makes sense because they teleport bots forward, so the map has to be long. Borneo. This map looks nice if you don't go super in depth and look really finely at the smallest visual details. Overall, it looks nice. And overall, it has great flow. I enjoy this map. It's a great map. Brazil. This map is a bit maze-like. The corridors on the inside don't exist like how corridors would exist in real life. They're sort of a 3D maze. Lots of stupid and unused paths exist because of the whole weird layout this map has. The control point is a little bit too open for my liking. Perhaps a little bit of cover could be used. It's a give and take. It's more of a preference sort of thing, I suppose. The theming on this map, in terms of how it looks, it's a cloudy day. It's kind of boring and sleepy. Not really exciting. Kind of the opposite of Team Fortress 2. Oh well. Brickyard. This map is permanently broken. Because people don't actually play the map. They just want to screw around and try to get the achievement. You know, the achievement to tune Erasmus's interdimensional television. If you somehow find a game, and every single person is actually playing for the objectives, that's amazing. That's 1 in a million. You found a fun game of Brickyard. And you're lucky. Brimstone. One of the hyper in-your-face Halloween maps. This map has all of the bosses, spells, and random events to deal with, all at the same time. It can't be played seriously. The allure of Halloween bosses is lost when they're 2 times removed from being the central focus of the map. Team Fortress 2 is innately fun. The best formula is one simple Halloween map gimmick to layer off of Team Fortress 2's natural fun, not 20 gimmicks all thrown together in your face. It's like a soup. You get a soup with all these cooks, making a soup? Get a brown soup. Disgusting brown soup. That's what this map is. Arena Buyer. Most people forget this exists, since Arena mode is dead and this map was only in casual map rotation during the invasion event, more or less. The map looks nice, but the transition to the skybox is horrible and super noticeable. If you're standing on the map and you're looking at the skybox, look at the ground and see the pixelation. It's more pixely than the worst JPEG you could think of. Other than that, this map looks nice and plays well. It's also technically a spin on Arena mode by having 2 control points and having the gameplay rules slightly altered. Cactus Canyon. This is the other abandoned beta map. I wish I could tell you about its gameplay, but it's not finished enough to give a definitive answer. New paths and overhauls could radically change it to where it actually ends up eventually, if it actually is something that will end up and not just be in development limbo forever. Also, since it's not done, the theming isn't finished and I can't comment on the visuals. There's a cactus with sunglasses and that's a fun visual Easter egg. But that's about it. Unlike Asteroid, the other beta map that's in limbo, this map doesn't have an outstanding, unique sort of gimmick to it. It's not in space, Asteroid isn't finished, but it's carried by its theme. This one is just another wasteland map. It's boring, there's nothing to say. It's forgettable, and I've already forgotten what we're talking about. Cactus what now? Carnival of Carnage. This map makes people crash in bumper car hell a lot. Never truly fixed that bug, did you, Valve? Oh well. Overall, it plays well, has spells and fun events that aren't too crazy. People just deathmatch most of the time, but playing the objective is fun. A simple but nice sort of tidbit of aesthetics. I like how the carnival rides in the skybox are just outlines, like silhouettes. It's a nice touch. It's a simple and effective nice touch. I think something similar was done in Left 4 Dead 2. Cauldron. Plays well, most of the time. One problem is that it never feels like it's worth it to go to the underworld. It's difficult, there's time investment and risk investment, and the payoff kind of just sucks. So, it's probably just better to avoid the underworld. The map's theming is generic Halloween, but it looks nice enough. Cloak. This was some crappy map used to test things by the developers, and was accidentally added to the game during the Steam Pipe update. It's purposefully trash, and, frankly, I'm surprised people haven't written more creepypastas about it. Coal Town. Let me just get this out of the way. The original Man vs. Machine maps aren't as good as the newer ones added later on. This map is nice looking and has some lore elements in the museum section. It has unique theming, sort of a stereotypical Wild West sort of look. I like the joke where there are 2 bathrooms, one with hatted gentlemen and one with regular gentlemen. Cold Front. One thing I want to talk about on this map is that it uses 2 different fogs. So when you transition between outdoors and indoors, it's a different set of fog in the distance. This is noticeable if you're spectating around because you don't pass through the transition areas. So sometimes outdoors will look sort of green in the distance, and sometimes indoors will look sort of whitish, like snowy. Just something to note next time you're playing this map. Overall, this map has great flow, nice theming, little iconic area sort of things, like the spawn rooms on the very back. That's just cool. Overall, great map. Cursed Cove. This map is needlessly complex and too big for its own good. It has these tight indoor sections that are just unenjoyable to fight in. That's why no one fights in them. They fight outdoors because the indoor sections are just trash. Overall, the map is really beautiful, especially the underwater area. Decoy. Original Man vs. Machine maps are kinda crappy. This map looks nice and plays okay. It's not outstanding in any way. The Groot Keep. One of the best maps in the entire game, the Groot Keep looks amazing and its gameplay is unique amongst maps. It's absolutely superb. The way the theming of the map mixes with gameplay, little things like the sounds of clashing swords in the soundscape, or how the heroic war flare plays when the gates open to indicate to everyone, alright, it's time to get ready and storm this castle. The small things make this map amazing. One thing to note, the Groot Keep is also a fan favorite amongst fans. That's kind of a redundant statement because I said fans twice, but regardless. Hopefully one day in the future we get another medieval mode map. District. District plays well for the most part, except for the very ends of the maps where there are really good sentry spots. Overall, the map looks nice and it's fun. It's actually super underrated. No one plays this map, but it's super great. It's actually amazing. If there was a top 10 lists for maps that are great but no one plays, this would be number 1. Doomsday. Doomsday has a really cool name. This map is widely regarded as being bad, but I disagree. It has its shortcomings, like how players just roam around randomly to kill each other over playing objectives because there's no front line, but that's alright. Uncoordinated play can sometimes be fun. I wish there was better indication that the person with the flag has to actually stand near the open hatch to end the round. Often players are just left standing there on top of the platform, wondering why the round hasn't ended yet. Speaking of the end of the round, the cutscene where the rocket starts to launch, but then crashes into a nearby building is hilarious. Afterwards, the announcer basically saying, whoops, none of you guys saw that, is the cherry on top. Double Cross. Capture the flag maps are bad, but this is probably the best of the bad. It has no cramped hallways like 2 Fort, and less travel time between enemy flags. It looks nice and plays alright. Like I said, out of the Capture the Flag maps, this is not that bad. Dust Bowl. This is an iconic map of Team Fortress 2. It has classic aesthetics. This is one of the maps I've played for way too long. So much that I never want to play it again. At a certain point, everyone who plays this map over and over, eventually you become optimal at this map. Knowing the best locations to spam, the best places to put sentries, the best places to do everything. Eventually, you get into a groove. The map also has spawn camping problems. Pretty much every single spawn, except the last, has only one singular exit, and that's kind of a problem in some situations. The training version of Dust Bowl. This is the closest we'll probably ever get to an official single-player campaign in Team Fortress 2. It's fun to run, and there's actually, legitimately, a speedrunning community over this map. Seriously. The only other noteworthy thing there is to say about this map is for some reason there's some land suspended in the sky. It's a bug they never fixed. Egypt. Yet another map that I've played so long that I despise. It's a solid map if you could get over the spamfulness of it. This is probably the first map to have some sort of story in the form of a pseudo cutscene. You see, when the final capture point is captured at the very end of the map, it reveals a tunnel to a stash of gold. And that's pretty cool. It implies the entire time the reason Blue was doing their thing, capturing points along the way, was to get to this gold. This one time I was playing this map, and I got kicked for using a meme-heavy loadout, basically the Holiday Punch and the Buffalo Steak Sandwich. I got kicked by people who were so dumb as to try to use the fake door in the last red spawn room. They just sort of jammed themselves in front of it trying to get it to open, and these people kicked me. So I don't feel bad because at the end of the day, I'll continue my life on regularly and they'll continue being really stupid. Enclosure! This map has solid Jurassic Park references. It is actually the biggest official map in the entire game if you're counting by walkable surface area of the floor. So, fun fact. Overall, the map looks nice and plays okay. The only disappointment I have is that there's no actual dinosaurs on the map. Cardboard cutouts and mechanical dinosaurs don't count. MVM example. We're going for complete here, so this is included on this list. MVM example is a map that came with editing tools for making MVM maps. It was something you had to opt into and actually place the map into the maps folder of your computer, so it's a map not everyone has. It's bare bones, as both a map and a tutorial. It functions, but it doesn't play well. Don't play it. I guess if you have a weird fascination with the map, you could play it, but it's not really worth it. Viaduct. This map was mind-blowing when it came out. Imagine Nucleus for the first time ever. Everyone was hyped and everyone loved fighting him. It was amazing and really fun. Overall, the map is fun because the gameplay is, at its core, Viaduct, and Viaduct gameplay is solid. It used to be possible to kill enemies when the boss was around, so that's why the underworld has pumpkin bombs and such. The bombs are still there, but they serve no purpose other than to look out of place. All I see when I see the platform with 2 pumpkin bombs and a health pack is old gameplay that used to exist in Team Fortress 2 that no longer exists. Fastlane. Plays well, but looks like crap. It was made by a novice map maker, so the entire map floats far off the ground from where the actual ground is in the skybox. Excluding the beta maps, and Cloak, and Example, and Item Test, this map feels the most unpolished. Foundry. An absolutely gorgeous map in an industrial steel grime sort of way. It'll always be remembered by me as a map with ARG elements hinting at man vs. machine. The manpower version of Foundry. Manpower mode is trash, so it's going to be difficult to separate the map from the garbage gameplay that takes place on the map. Manpower mode in Team Fortress 2 is Team Fortress 2 taken to its Quake roots. Quake games had grappling hooks and power-ups. Turns out Team Fortress 2 is better with that Quake fat trimmed off. Who knew? This map has more verticality than the original Foundry, since the height-on ceilings, the invisible wall ceilings, are raised. Freight. Overall, a great map that looks great and plays great. The trains are a fun element. Don't just love being run over or having them be in your way or walking on them and having them slide side to side. Sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but actually they're quite fun. I'm not being sarcastic here. What is actually kind of bad is the water areas. The underground water paths, in the best of times, they're annoying. In the worst of times, they're horrible. Another fault of this map is it's prone to long stalemates. Frontier. Frontier plays alright and looks okay. Areas off the main path are seldom traveled and often cramped. Paths that are cramped where you can't dodge enemies or splash damage isn't fun to play on. This map suffers from spammy choke points. This is kind of weird, but for some reason people think the very end of this map leads into Nucleus, like the payload cart falls into Nucleus. I like the lore implications of such an assertment, but at the end of the day it's just headcanon nonsense. Ghost Fort. The Halloween version of Lakeside is great. It's a walking meme map! Marasmus makes the 20-minute round last hours. Pro tip, don't defeat Marasmus, but rather let him escape to make the round not last as long. If he escapes, the span of time where he's not in the map is longer. When this map was launched, people at the time were thinking, hey, this has some elements from Prop Hunt. I wonder if a future Valve map or project or something will have other elements from Prop Hunt. And there never were. Sad. Kinda sad. Oh well. It's probably for the best. Maybe an official Prop Hunt would be kinda sucky. Ghost Town. It's Coal Town, but Halloween. There's not much to say. It's probably the least intensive Halloween conversion map there is, where basically it's just darker and they add some pumpkins. The MVM campaign associated with this map is known for one wave with a bajillion enemies, and also known for being super difficult and time consuming. Truly those who have undertaken the task of beating this wave are legends. If you're a Team Fortress 2 player and you beat Ghost Town's amazingly long one singular wave campaign, kudos to you. Gold Rush. Alright, this always blows people's minds when they hear about it. Gold Rush is actually an updated port of Dust Bowl into the payload game mode. They have the same 3-stage structure and the same level layout. They play the same and have the same choke points and the same multiple paths, more or less. It's as if they use Dust Bowl as a template, and in the end it sucks as much as Dust Bowl. So a moderate amount, but not horrible. Gorge, CP Gorge to be more exact. This map plays well, but it's overall kinda bland. It's a great map for engineers. People develop their favorite sentry spots on this map, and in particular the last point is known for being Sentry Town. The manpower mode version of Gorge. It's like 5 Gorge, but with a trimmed down central area that plays better for the mode than if it were simply just a port of 5 Gorge. The map has loads of visual bugs that to this day Valve has not fixed. Gorge Event. Out of all the versions of Gorge, this one changes up the map's formula the most, since it adds extra paths and a death pit. It's funny that this one's the biggest improvement in gameplay. The only gimmick the map has is it spawns skeletons when the first point is captured, making this a great Halloween map for people who only enjoy slight alterations to the gameplay formula of Team Fortress 2 for their Halloween maps. Granary, the control point version, a classic map. Plays well, has outdated visuals, but at the same time, outstanding, larger-than-life visuals due to the architecture. Like those giant silos, that's just amazing. They look great. Fun fact, people have made heat maps of places players die in Team Fortress 2 maps. For Granary, the shipping containers in the central area have a lower amount of death than the surrounding floor area, so either people travel less on the top of the shipping containers and therefore die less up there, or there's a large benefit of being up high and shooting down on people. In either case, get up high in Granary because you'll likely die less. Maybe. The arena version of Granary. This map plays well. Just outside of spawn is metal, so often rounds will end off with taking down the engineer sentry nest from the other team. Or retreating to your engineer sentry nest near spawn and healing up and then fighting enemies and then winning. Or losing. In any case, the thing I want to get across is that there's usually a sentry nest outside of spawn. Gravel Pit. This is another classic map. It plays well for the most part. The pro strategy on this map is to defend both A and B, but when push comes to shove, let A get taken and just defend B. The reason being is B is way easier to defend than A. In terms of visuals, the map looks nice, but it's a bit outdated underneath the surface. As an example, spotlights are used to fake lighting coming through windows. This is more of an older technique in map making. Gravestone. A spam-tastic Halloween map. A bit unfocused in direction and design, but overall good. Gully Wash. This map has a really nasty sounding name until you look up what a gully wash is. Like, until you look up what a gully wash is, it sounds like if you take spit and you spit into someone else's mouth. That's just how disgusting it sounds. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to give you that visual, but that's like what a gully wash is if you don't know what a gully wash is. Anyways. The map plays well and has lots of Easter eggs. It's pretty good. Harvest. This map is beloved by bad players. Not saying the map is bad, I'm just saying you'll likely always be the best person on your team. So if you enjoy challengeless Team Fortress 2, play this map. Harvest Event is an excellent map. It's solid Team Fortress 2 gameplay with a little bit of a twist. A ghost that stuns players roams around the map. It makes for fun situations and doesn't demand focus or attention away from regular gameplay. At least not that much. Hellfire. A big open space that's sparsely decorated. Who knew the saddest wasteland in all of Team Fortress 2 would be inside of a boring volcano? It plays on par with other manpower mode maps. Hellstone. This map is one of the hyper crazy Halloween super crazy party maps where everything is thrown at the player. Constantly overstimulating the player numbs them down into boredom. And so this map sucks. Hell Tower. An improved version of High Tower. Has extra exits from spawn, switches out the stairs for FPS saving slopes, and opens up this shack area for players to stand and fight on top of. On top of all that, the payload doesn't roll back down the long hills directly outside the other team's spawn. One of the worst design choices of the original High Tower was to have the slopes that the carts slide back down, right in front of the enemy spawn. This one thing is why people don't play High Tower to win High Tower. It's unfun to do so versus the slope. It's unfun to play to win because of the slope. Guarded by thousands of engineers on their team. Why face this when you could just mess around in High Tower? And so Hell Tower is an improvement to High Tower. The map's also a great Halloween map. The hell portion of the map is a fun gimmick. The skeletons on the map don't distract from regular gameplay. Lastly, the Bridge to the Rare spell makes for a high risk, high reward dynamic. Overall, great map. High Pass. Surprisingly well-rounded King of the Hill map. It favors classes with high mobility as they can roam up and down the high and low areas near the control point. High Tower. High Tower is a beloved map. It's a really popular map to play for people who prefer their enjoyment of Team Fortress 2 from a self-satisfying place. People who like the minute-to-minute gameplay of killing people and messing around over the meta of things happening in a larger scale. People who don't care about anything else, as long as they're having fun. Hightower is a place for people who just want a deathmatch. And that's alright. People who enjoy the team-based aspect of Team Fortress 2, like the feeling of winning through combinations of strategy and teamwork, can just play other maps. Hightower is a flawed map if it was designed to be played like a regular map. If it was meant to be taken seriously, the design failed. And that's okay. Team Fortress 2 can have a place where people can just turn off their brains and deathmatch. Why not? Hoodoo. This map is seen as one of the worst maps in the game, even to the point where someone recreated the map with the title Hoodoo, and it was a poop-themed map. And it was the exact same thing, but poop-themed. Nasty. Anyways, I don't think this map is too bad. If you like Dust Bowl or Gold Rush levels of spam choke points, this map is for you. Hydro. I've played Team Fortress 2 for a long time, so much so that I actually played this map when it was actually played. It's a classic map. It has a lot of choke points and spam, that's what I mean by classic map in this regard. One problem is on smaller player count servers, entire teams will push to get their opponent's point and win a round, but since the entire team did this, no one was around defending their point, and they may end up losing the round. Balancing attacking and defending is fun on paper, but only on paper. Hydro doesn't play well overall. It's known as the most underplayed official map in the entire game's lifespan, and it probably is. And that's Hydro. Item Test. This map is for testing items, as the name implies. The functionality within Item Test is not exclusive to Item Test, but rather any map. As a fun side note, if you couldn't tell, Item Test is CP Gorge's blue spawn room. I hope I didn't just blow your mind. Also, if you no-clip around, there's a dev test room and a regular just basic room with no detail. Junction. Widely regarded as the worst map in the entire game, a really old critique video of the map said it best. It's like a small, crappy maze. The map is too small. It's not fun to shoot enemies, to rocket jump, to dodge, to spam a corridor, to turtle, to sniper, to do anything anyone might find any enjoyment out of in Team Fortress 2 on this map. When you've screwed up making shooting enemies unfun, you know you've screwed up making a map in Team Fortress 2. Dear viewer, if you ever avoid doing anything in your life, avoid buying a map stamp for this map. You should never encourage such horrendous map design. Kong King. I often call this map King Kong. Same thing, whatever. At first when this came out, and Team Fortress 2 still had an ounce of decency in its art direction, I thought this map didn't really fit Team Fortress 2. I mean, look at it. It was so radically different than anything else in the game when it came out. It depicts a pseudo-Hong Kong environment full of air conditioners. Did air conditioners even exist when Team Fortress 2 takes place? Did they exist in the 1960s Hong Kong? One second, let me look this up. Turns out they did. Turns out the first privately owned AC unit were sold in 1914, and the first window-mounted air conditioner started in 1940. So I'll just assume it's plausible this is how Hong Kong looked. I don't see why not. Anyways, overall the map plays well, but only after getting over the learning hurdle of memorizing the underground areas and the 3 main routes to the point. The map starts off as a cluster maze up until you get used to it. Lakeside. This is a great map. It's maybe a bit too sniper friendly, but that's okay. Fighting in and out of the water near the large health pack can sometimes look like 2 robots learning to walk for the first time. You see, that's a metaphor for really clumsiness. Landfall. Probably one of the better capture the flag maps since people actually play it seriously. The map has a huge unique spin on established Team Fortress 2 visuals with the giant trees. It looks quite nice. I like the jokes on the posters spread out throughout the map. The only thing that's weird, what's up with the unreasonably dark spawn room on both sides? On both sides there's one spawn room, it's just super dark. And in said dark spawn room, a large shadow is cast on the wall that's super duper pixely. Lazarus. This one's a bit different than most Team Fortress 2 maps. There are a lot of great engineer sentry spots on the map, and this encourages sentry countering classes to be played more often. I like the end of the map where a big door opens up, and what appears to be the Fountain of Youth, or something similar, becomes accessible. The map reminds me of Egypt's final point in that regard. The spawn rooms on this map are widely seen as the game's nicest looking spawn rooms. I agree, they're pretty nice. Lumberyard. This is one of the best arena maps, despite not being symmetrical. Every round, it's fun to take a different path to the enemy. The map's built like paths branching into paths, in such a small span of space, from spawn to the center. I once made a zombie fortress version of this map. Side note. Man Manor. This is one of the 2 contest winners for the Art Pass contest. A contest where a simple map layout was made and everyone had the ability to decorate it and submit it. This and Mountain Lab won. If you're new to the game and wonder why these 2 maps are so similar in layout, but Manor isn't an event version of Mountain Lab, now you know why. The map plays well, and the Headless Horseman is really fun if you think of him as a map hazard like saw blades or train. When I first saw the map posted alongside other entries for the contest, I thought the wall textures didn't really fit Team Fortress 2, but the map grew on me since then, metaphorically. Manhattan. The new MVM maps are better than the original ones, as stated before. This one has a fun gimmick of a death grinder, and multiple doors the bots can capture to make their journey easier. The map has an exploity sort of spot where a sentry can be placed and giant robot scouts can't pass. If you played the map a lot, you know what I'm talking about. Overall, the map is really fun, and has some neat world building stuff in Spawn. Manworks. One of the original MVM maps. It's serviceable. Some rooms are super sparse, but overall the map looks nice and plays well. Maple Ridge Event. This map is good. It's a solid King of the Hill map with its only Halloween gimmick being exploding pumpkins. It's nice that not all Halloween maps are over the top crazy. One thing that bugs me about this map is that this map has torches like the torches found in the Groot Keep. But these torches don't have the same functionality as they do on that map. They don't light the sniper's arrows on fire. They're just decorative. It's weird and it looks unprofessional when a gameplay element is repurposed in such a poor manner as to somewhat deceive players. If the map maker is out there, yo, remove the torches. Mercenary Park. This map is both flawed and brilliant. It looks like it was rushed at the last second to be released. You can tell there's still some remnants of an unused spawn room and an underground area. Additionally, it's the little things that screw it up as a whole. Why is the mural with Saxon Hale such a low resolution even on the highest settings? Why is the blood on the wall as part of the map so realistic looking? It really stands out when players are hit and cartoonish looking blood lands right next to it. On the bright side, the alligator death trap is very thematically fitting and super duper cool. Gotta say. Metalworks. This map is forgettable. Back when Valve was making a push for Team Fortress 2 to have more of a competitive scene, they decided to include some maps that worked well in competitive. This is one of them. At the end of the day, no one says to themselves, "Today I played on Metalworks." They only say, "As part of what I was doing today, I played on a server that had Metalworks running." The map looks okay and plays okay, but what was I talking about again? I've seemed to have forgotten. Monster Bash. This is one of the prettiest maps ever added to Team Fortress 2. The theming is just superb. The gameplay, however, isn't that great. People playing just sort of fight around the central area. There are a lot of creatively designed side rooms that connect to other rooms in a maze-like manner. Those don't often see traffic. Everyone just likes to play in the middle of the map near the objective. The pit under the central part of the map feels poorly designed. A player has to risk a lot of time and effort for a small benefit if they make it to the end of an obstacle course. It feels like the point was that it's supposed to be punishing and you're not supposed to want to go into the hole. If the hole is someplace you don't want to go into, then it's just a consolation prize that rather than you dying, you can get out of the hole. If that's the intention, if the area underneath the hole that you could use to get out of the hole is just there as a consolation prize, people are stupidly unaware of that. People just sort of love to just shove themselves into the hole, even though it's not really worth it. So, there's a weird dissonance between the intended design and what people are trying to do for fun. People love jumping into the hole underneath the main platform in Monster Bash. Moonshine Event. This map is fun. It strikes a good balance between crazy Halloween fun and the fundamentals of regular Team Fortress 2 gameplay. Fighting while being underwater and on top of the water is a bit of a clumsy ordeal. The lit up underwater alligator cutout that miraculously kills players is a weird touch. It punishes a lot of new players every Halloween event who don't know that it's deadly yet. Moss Rock. Near Blue's first spawn, there's a super excellent spot to airblast players off a cliff, to their doom. It usually works very well, this spot, up until the blue team gain ground. The map suffers from sentry spots always in the exact same locations because these locations work very well for sentry spots. In earlier versions of this map, it was basically the exact same thing except with a desert theme. It seems like a technical feat that the large expanse of luscious greenery filling the gorge and the area behind Blue's first spawn came out so nicely looking. Not only that, but it's not super duper resource intensive. I just want to take a moment and commend such nice visuals that don't kill frame rates. Those are rare in life. Mountain Lab. The other Art Pass map. It's surprising Man Manor and this map play so differently only due to very minor details changing. Small adjustments to the placement of windows and some clipping near a ramp and the catwalk over the final point go a very long way in making the two maps play very distinctly. Nightfall. I recall seeing this map before it was released and it was often praised for being a very good and fun map. I can't help but think that's not correct, and this map is just average in every situation. Like all official payload race maps, it feels like the benefits from the first and second round are inconsequential. What's the point of winning a round if the final round will always basically only come down to the efforts made in that round? In payload race, winning a round gives you an insignificant advantage in the final round. Maybe if they gave you a significant advantage in how much more forward the payload cart is when you win a round would feel discouraging for the other team. That's loser talk. Just give a reasonable advantage to the teams that won the first and second round. Jeez. The map has a small Easter egg at the very end over the pit. Consider flying into the room over there and seeing it firsthand next time around the map. Arena Nucleus. Did you know Nucleus was an outdoor map? Well, it is. Look up once in a while playing Team Fortress 2, and maybe you'll die less often to market gardener soldiers. Anyways, Nucleus is a great map. It gains most of its detailing from broad strokes over finer details. The centerpiece in the center of the map is massive and emanates an electrical sound that's distinctly heard throughout the map. Random pro tip, a quick way to get around the map is to walk on a narrow looking cover near the center area. You'd think it'd be dangerous and easy to fall off of into the pit into the center, but it's actually pretty safe. The King of the Hill version of Nucleus. Same thing but different spawns. This version of the map suffers from spawn camping that can be easily overcome by having smarter teammates that know that other spawn exits exist. Off Blast. This map looks great if you don't look too closely at the smaller details, and notice that props fade out of existence a little too soon, and that the lighting in the pit is a little messed up. Overall, Off Blast plays well, and has interesting verticality in terms of outdoor and indoor areas. Pipeline. Pipeline plays well, and looks alright. Some areas are not symmetrical on Pipeline, like the stairs to get behind enemy lines on the first stage, and the stairs near the water on the third stage. For years that this map has existed, there was no staircase near the track switch in the very central area of the first stage. And then at one point, Valve updated the map. If only Valve would come back to their old maps and update them occasionally like this one. Oh well. Stage 3 is a sniper's paradise. It's wide open and very short. It's sad that the very end of the map has no fancy explosion or ground eruption. Rather, there's just a particle effect. It seems kind of anticlimactic. Nothing happens. A payload cart simply disappears from existence, with a special effect occurring. Compare that to the end of most payload maps. At the end of Badwater, it's a giant explosion where barrels fly up into the air and crash onto the earth. On Pipeline, the cart simply vanishes from existence with a small fire effect. Wow. Pit of Death. For some reason, the Halloween and Mirage mission contracts Valve made for this map are notably super duper easy to do. This is probably the single easiest map to do map-specific contracts on. Maybe contracts will be rebalanced in the future, but for now, this holds true. The map gimmick of depositing collectibles past a gate in a hostile environment whose entrance periodically opens is great. Overall, fun map has some flaws. Powerhouse. This map is said to be a scrapped map from the original development of Team Fortress 2. The devs kept it for years and years and years, and eventually decided they'd do some more work on it and eventually release it. In a weird way, it's like a time capsule into a Team Fortress 2 that could have been. It even plays like older maps, and that is to say, not very well. A time limit would make this map thousands of times better. Its biggest downside is that rounds last way too long. Probed. This map is fun and creatively designed. It's a bit wacky. The map's gimmick is that you get abducted into an alien spaceship. And so, probably because of the gimmicky nature of this map, Valve categorizes this map separately than regular King of the Hill maps. Process. This map is rough around the edges, but has heart. No one is going to say this map is trash. It's pretty good. The aesthetics are bland, but overall it looks nice. The map was made for competitive play, and it plays well in that category of play. It doesn't fare as well in casual pubs though. Ravine. This map has a unique aesthetic and plays well with multiple paths. It uses a small amount of space very well. It's cramped, but the separation of paths makes it feel bigger than it really is. Rottenburg. This map is a Great MVM map. The animation it plays when a tank smashes the wooden barricade is a nice touch. Having an upgrade station near the front line is a great quality of life design decision. The aesthetics of the map are also great. It's nice Valve was able to successfully reuse the Group Keep assets so well. Capture the Flag Sawmill. Being a Capture the Flag map, naturally this is the worst version of Sawmill. Sawmill is a great map, with fun instant kill saw blades in the main building. Strangely, despite every version of this map being for symmetrical game modes, the map itself is asymmetrical. Arena Sawmill. Same thing, but players spawn more forward, health packs are more sparse, and it's arena mode. King of the Hill Sawmill. This is probably the definitive version of the map. It plays well and looks nice. Nothing's more fun in Team Fortress 2 than making saw-based puns when someone dies to giant saw blades. My favorite is how they never saw it coming. Ha ha ha. Sin Shrine. Sin Shrine is the Halloween version of Sunshine. It plays well and the Halloween elements are very tame. Basically the only differences are death pits, lava, and pumpkin bombs. The base map is solid, so this version follows suit. Slasher. This map was made way in advance to the year it was actually added to the game. It's big and open and has a lot of unused space in front of both spawns. The paths are a bit labyrinthian and nonsensical. If there was a meter that went from map that looks like a real location to map that looks like a video game level, this map would be closer to the video game level end of the spectrum. Overall, if there were no mini-sentries, this map would play well. It's a good map, but it could get a little bit too silly with random boss encounters though. Snake Water. It's disappointing there are no actual snakes in any bodies of water on this map. I'm just gonna get that out there right off the bat right now. 0 out of 10 map, no snakes, misleading title. I'm joking, of course. The map plays averagely, most of the time. It seemed better suited for competitive play over pubs. The flow is just slightly off. This is another map that looks more like a video game level than an actual place that could exist in real life. Ugh, Snowplow. This is one of the worst maps in the entire game. It's also a huge map in terms of file size, so if it was just removed from the game, I think everyone would be happy. I hate this map so much, I refuse to talk about it anymore. Snowy Coast. One of the newest maps to become super beloved by the community. This thing is on the level of Dust Bowl or 2-Fort in terms of play rates. Note, I'm making up this statistic on the spot, so it's probably wrong. It just seems like everyone's enjoying this map, and so do I. It looks nice, and plays well. It plays well to the strengths of payload maps, and their gameplay centering around a moving front line. Payload carts in general are just a well-designed mechanic in the game. Lastly, the map is a snow-themed level, and those are just the best. Team Fortress 2 has a total of 5 of those at the time of recording this, but in my opinion, there should be more. Stand-in. As opposed to sitting. Ha ha ha. In theory, this is the perfect map for 32-player servers, since all players can just divide themselves into attacking and defending the 3 separate control points. 3 control points branching from 2 spawns. Great concept on paper for a map, poor execution in reality. Turns out the gameplay just isn't there. Oh well. You live and you learn. I don't foresee more maps in the future using this weird format. Steel. I love this map, but I can recognize its shortcomings and see why it's despised. The layout is complicated and new players often get lost on this map. The hallways are cramped and some pass straight by spawn rooms. The map looks nice, but that can only go so far. The mechanics of opening paths as points are captured is cool on paper, but doesn't work out super well. Why would anyone wait for the long, slow door to open after capturing B, when they can just go to C through the other path? Small details like that bring down the map. Sujin. This map was originally designed as an arena map, and it shows. The map is a straight line from spawn to the point. Roughly 50% of the map goes unoccupied because why would anyone fight on the floating platforms when they could just go straight into the action? The map looks nice, but there's a trade-off. The map's very resource intensive and runs poorly on underpowered computers. The map doesn't work well in terms of vertical space. The cutoff of how far up a player can travel isn't obvious, and it's too punishing to fall off a higher path because, for most classes, it takes way too long to get back up. Sunshine. This map is a solid map with good flow. It looks nice and plays well. This map can do no wrong. There's even a fun little Easter egg love letter on the map, carved in wood. Swiftwater. One of the worst made maps on a technical level. It needs more than just a simple optimization pass to meet the standards of the other maps. Red's multi-directional spawn can be complicated to players who are new to the map, but it's really actually a pretty brilliant design. Doors simply close from left to right as capture points are captured by blue. Basically the leftmost door will always lead to the front lines. Despite all its faults, overall the map plays well. It just sucks to fall into the gorge at the very beginning of the map. Target. This is a training map. If you look at it decompiled, it's a mess of coding. Since the training for all the classes takes place on the same map, I'm 100% certain we'll never get training for the rest of the classes on this map. Why, you ask? The logic is spaghetti. The code is linguini. I feel bad for the map makers at Valve if they have to sort through everything on this map and then on top of that, add in 5 more classes worth of logic. It's a very difficult task that's simply not worth it in my opinion. It's probably better to start from scratch. Oh yeah, this map is cool looking. It's actually the area behind Blue's first spawn in Thunder Mountain. Thematically. Super thematically. On a super technical level, this map came before Thunder Mountain, but forget about that. The payload version of Thunder Mountain. It's fitting that due to alphabetical order, this comes right after Target. Thunder Mountain has good pacing and flow. It looks nice, but a bit rough around the edges if you're really observant. Rounds feel samey after a while on this map. What I like about this map is the fun little world building things, like seeing the mercenaries discuss strategy outside the map through the spawn room, or seeing them do backstrokes in the swimming pool for some reason. These are nice touches, unique to this map. Capture the flag, Thunder Mountain. This map is another crappy manpower map. It ruins the good name of Thunder Mountain a bit by being called Thunder Mountain. Should they even share a name if they only share half a stage? If the original Thunder Mountain was rough around the edges, this version is a cheese grater of glitches. Timber Town. A solid pastime map. The spawn rooms could be a little more involved than just wooden areas full of props. Just saying, that's kind of said offhand. This map is well rounded and pretty fun in terms of gameplay. There are many obvious areas that are simply there as a way to cut line of sight between two areas, but even if you notice it, it never takes away from the experience. I like the workshop area on the side of the map. I suppose it's there as an Easter egg, but it's kind of an underwhelming Easter egg. Turbine. This map is beloved by many. It's underwhelming visually with plain walls and 9-degree hallways. It's horrendously bad in terms of gameplay. The map has tight corridors and high traffic areas just outside of spawn rooms. Out of all official Capture the Flag maps, this is probably the worst. People who enjoy Turbine to the point of spending days on it are a special kind of dumb person. The kind of dumb person who doesn't know they're dumb because they never thought to question their own intelligence. They're the kind of person to get on a train or an elevator as its doors are opening without letting people off of the elevator or train first. Upward. For some reason, the developers who made the maps that came out during the Engineer update were really good at making maps that people would like to play over and over. Upward is one of those maps. The map looks nice and actually broke new ground visually when it was released. It plays well for the most part. It's probably one of the best maps in the game. Now, if only people on the red team would use the hidden door and go to the front lines faster, I guess people will never learn of the existence of the hidden path and always go to the front lines slower. Oh well. Vanguard. This map looks nice and plays well. It was way crappier and buggier when it first debuted, but has since been patched with fixes and an additional path. I really want to like Vanguard, but it's hard to look past its many small frustrating aspects. Viaduct. One of the best King of the Hill maps in the entire game, Viaduct is incredible. It's hard to find flaws. It's well known that a version of this map is played in competitive play to this very day. The map has a lot of tricky, but satisfying jumps for scouts to pull off. Watchtower. Watchtower is one of the worst looking maps in the entire game, and it's due largely in part to the poorly designed out of boundary hills. These mountains of rock look hideous. On the bright side, the map runs well on underpowered computers due to being less resource intensive. That's a plus. The gameplay in Watchtower isn't great. The pools of water are difficult to see from high up, and they are locations players are aiming to fall into since water nullifies fall damage. The 4 small walkable platforms extending from the center are unfun to fight on. It's really easy to fall off of these pipes. They provide zero cover, but they're necessary to get around the map quickly. Watergate. I used to consider this one of the best maps in the game. My mind has since changed. It's just an okay map. Other player destruction maps work way better. The floating in the beam mechanic is just clumsy. In terms of visuals, the map looks great. It somewhat gives off a Half-Life 2 City 17 vibe. The Capture the Flag version of Well. The Capture the Flag version of Well is probably the worst version of the map, simply because the interesting intricate central area was gutted for something more mundane. But mostly it sucks because it's a Capture the Flag version of the map. Well is an okay map visually. It's an older map, so it can't hold up as well to the newer visual style the game has. All old maps share assets to a larger extent, and look similar because of this. Well has a fun gimmick to it, the gimmick being the trains that pass by at high traffic areas and run over players not paying attention. Like Sawmill's saws, Well's trains are a great place to make puns. The Capture Point version of Well. This version is basically the same but with a better central area and better spawn locations. The Arena version of Well. This version of Well has a large visual bug where the train track decals in the skybox are broken. They have the wrong orientation and are horribly stretched. Clearly a very bad visual bug that has existed to this very day because Valve doesn't care enough to fix obvious bugs like this. Oh well, such is life. Yukon. The only map to take place in Canada, as far as we know. Yukon is a hard to look at map. It's unpleasant on the eyes. Maybe if the time of day was changed or the entire map was brightened up a bit. The color scheme is just depressing. The map plays fairly averagely. For some reason, a large portion of the community really dislikes Yukon. I can understand why to a certain extent, but I don't think it's that bad of a map. It's finally over. Thanks for watching this ultra mega long video, and tell me what you think. Please don't get personally offended if I said negative things about a map you love. It's possible to find enjoyment out of every map in the game, and you shouldn't feel bad for doing so. Don't let a silly video full of opinions change how you play a video game. An important thing to remember is, all official Team Fortress 2 maps are outstanding. Even the worst of the worst are still firmly in the category of playable map. Except Background 01, Cloak, Example, and Item Test, which aren't meant to be played. Anyways, once again, thanks for watching. Au revoir.